Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are strapping ourselves into the Ranger 3 and taking a serious look beyond the shimmering, the light-up floor of 1970s science fiction.
We're exploring the surprisingly complicated life and career of the actor who put on that flight suit and really defined the disco decade's view of the 25th century.
That's right. The recent news of actor Gil Gerard's passing on December 16th, 2025, at the age of 82.
Yeah, it was after a very short and incredibly aggressive battle with cancer. Gives us a chance to revisit his most iconic and maybe his most frustrating role, Captain William Buck Rogers.
And for anyone who needs a quick download of the premise, Buck Rogers was a late 20th century NASA pilot.
Right. He launches the Ranger 3 in 1987, and then, a passing cloud of cosmic gases freezes him cryogenically for 504 years.
And he wakes up in 2491 to find Earth. Well, an Earth rebuilt after a nuclear war.
And here's the bizarre part, the pulpy context you just have to love. The show comes out in '79, but they set the nuclear war that destroyed the world on November 22nd, 1987.
A date that was still 8 years in the future at the time.
Exactly. It gave the whole series this, immediate kind of paranoid sense of, hey, this could happen soon.
So our mission today goes a lot deeper than just enjoying the nostalgia for those tight uniforms and fantastic hair.
Oh, way deeper.
We're doing a deep dive into the truly cynical origins of the 1979 TV series. I mean, a series that was literally born from the failure of a massive earlier sci-fi show.
And critically, we are exploring the intense, really dramatic internal conflicts.
Conflicts that were led almost single-handedly by Gil Gerard himself.
Yeah, and that pushed the show to make a radical and, an ultimately disastrous change for its second season.
We're also going to look at Gerard's journey beyond the starship, the incredible early ambition that led him to acting, and the very public, life-saving battles he fought with addiction and obesity later in life.
When you put it all together, it's really the story of a show that succeeded as pure, enjoyable hokum,
but failed spectacularly when its star forced it to try and become serious science fiction. It's a classic case study.
It really is. A case study in that tension between what a creator wants to say and what an audience actually wants to watch. And we have to start with the very unconventional path Gerard took to get to space.
It's truly wild. I mean, when you picture the rugged, swashbuckling lead of a major sci-fi franchise.
You don't picture a guy who started out wanting to wear a lab coat.
Not at all. Gerard was born in Little Rock, Arkansas in 1943, and he enrolled at the University of Central Arkansas with a very clear plan.
A very grounded plan. He was studying chemistry. He wanted to be an industrial chemist.
I mean, that is a long, long way from dodging Princess Ardala's lasers.
But that acting bug hit him so hard that at, 26 years old, which is kind of late to start, he just drops out of college.
And moves straight to New York City to chase the dream. That takes some serious guts, especially when you've already put years into a stable, scientific career path.
Oh, absolutely. And the stories of his early hustle are just legendary. While he was studying drama at AMDA, he had to drive a cab at night to pay the bills.
And this cab driving led to his first real break in the most bizarre way possible.
I love this story.
So he's driving, he's struggling, and he picks up a fare. This passenger hears about his struggles, is apparently connected to the film industry.
And just tells him to report to the set of the 1970 classic love story to audition as an extra.
Just like that.
He shows up, he's hired on the spot, and he's actually in the movie. Briefly, in the background, standing right behind Ryan O'Neal.
So yeah, his jump from Arkansas chemistry student to Hollywood actor was directly because of an expensive late-night cab fare.
That's the kind of look you just can't plan for. It's incredible.
That initial exposure just snowballed. The sources show commercial work became his training ground. Over 6 years, he was in nearly 400 commercials.
Wow, 400? That's a phenomenal amount of screen time. And it's what really cemented that smooth, trustworthy on-screen presence he had.
And all that commercial work is what ultimately got him into soap operas. Starting in 1974, he spent 2 years playing Dr. Alan Stewart on The Doctors.
But his ambition wasn't just acting. He was already thinking about the business side, too.
Exactly. He was entrepreneurial. He formed his own company, Prudhomme Productions, and even co-authored and starred in his own film, Hooch, in 1977.
So by the time Universal came looking for a Captain Rogers, Gerard wasn't just a handsome face. He was an experienced professional who understood production.
Which, ironically, is probably what made him such a difficult star later on. He had opinions.
He definitely had opinions. But he was the inspired choice for Buck. He could deliver those smooth, charming lines with total conviction because he'd spent years selling cars and soap.
But the project he signed up for was, well, let's just say it was anything but a prestigious piece of filmmaking.
Which brings us to the show's very, very cynical beginning. This wasn't a show born from passion. It was born from a massive corporate failure.
We're talking about Battlestar Galactica.
Yep. Developer Glenn A. Larson had just overseen Galactica, which, despite its devoted fan base, was described in the sources as one of the most expensive failures of the decade.
Universal lost a fortune on it.
A fortune. So Larson needed something new, something fast, and, most importantly, something cheap.
And the core idea for Buck Rogers was created, let's be blunt, to use the enormous inventory of leftover props, costumes, sets, and special effects film footage from the canceled Galactica.
It was the ultimate recycling project. Think about it. They had mountains of colonial warrior helmets, metallic tunics, weird-looking laser rifles.
Entire spaceship models just sitting in a warehouse.
Exactly. Buck Rogers was just the most financially sound way to monetize all those write-offs. And the irony is that cheap, repurposed look is what gave Season 1 its distinctive, almost tacky charm.
And that cynical strategy paid off immediately. The first installment was made as a TV pilot.
But Universal decided to release it in theaters first in March of '79.
And it was a smash hit. It pulled in $21 million at the North American box office.
That success was instant proof that audiences didn't care about the recycled sets. They cared about the fun. NBC immediately commissioned the weekly series.
So let's talk about that iconic Season 1 cast. Gerard, as Buck, was the perfect fish out of water. The sources all highlight his rugged handsomeness and his knack for making even the most risque remarks seem unoffensive.
He was our charming guide to this bizarre new world. And then you have Erin Gray as Colonel Wilma Deering, commander of Earth's Defense Force.
Initially, she was described as a little wooden, but she quickly became a fan favorite.
Oh, yeah. Gloriously beautiful, all business and high command, but with this undeniable undercurrent of sexuality that made the whole will they or won't they thing with Buck just crackle.
And you have to credit the production team for leaning into the camp. The producers even insisted Wilma dye her dark hair blonde to get that space siren look.
Right, though she did go back to her natural color later in the season.
And of course, you can't forget the comic relief, Twiki.
Bitty, bitty, bitty.
The small ambiquad robot played physically by Felix Silla, but the voice was pure genius. They hired Mel Blanc.
The voice of Daffy Duck, Bugs Bunny, Duck Dodgers.
It's incredible. You've got this serious sci-fi setting, and the robot's voice is from the greatest cartoon voice actor ever, using a gruff voice like Barnyard Dog, saying 20th century slang he learned from Buck.
That one decision tells you everything you need to know about how seriously they took themselves. It was meant to be fun.
And the villainy was just as camp. Pamela Hensley as Princess Ardella, obsessed with conquering Earth and possessing Buck.
Her costumes were something else. Huge headpieces, high glamour, and very little fabric.
Yeah.
It really cemented the show as quintessential disco decade sci-fi.
The setting evolved pretty quickly, too. The film pilot suggests Earth is this radioactive wasteland with only one shielded city left, New Chicago.
Right, but they couldn't keep the audience locked in a bunker. As the season went on, Earth got lush and green, the center of an interstellar federation, with cities like New Detroit and New London.
It went from post-apocalyptic bunker to the vibrant center of the galaxy. It gave them more freedom for adventure.
And we have to mention the trivia nugget.
Oh, the best one. They had Buster Crabbe, who played the original Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon in the 1930s serials, guest star as Brigadier Gordon.
A perfect, sentimental nod to the character's history. It was a successful formula. Light, sexy, funny, action-packed. It knew exactly what it was.
But that success, as we said, was directly at odds with what its leading man wanted.
And this is where the story gets really interesting. All this lighthearted, successful hokum was making Gil Gerard absolutely miserable.
The conflict that erupted behind the scenes fundamentally changed the show, and not for the better.
The internal drama was intense. Gerard, who the sources describe as a devout Christian, vocally disliked the sexual innuendo, the revealing costumes, the whole campy tone of the first season.
He genuinely felt the show was shallow and wanted it to be more meaningful.
And he wasn't just quietly complaining. The sources confirm he was actively rewriting scripts on set.
Wow.
Yeah, refusing to deliver comical or risque lines, vetoing whole plot points. There's a specific anecdote where he stopped a scene.
Let me guess, he objected to Wilma rescuing him.
You got it. He felt that Buck needed to be the hero in that moment, so he had it changed.
That must have made him incredibly difficult to work with.
The production schedule suffered. The atmosphere on set was tense, and 2 writers famously quit midway through season 1 because of it all. NBC actually threatened him with legal action if he kept impeding production.
Can you imagine being so unhappy with your massive hit show that you tell the network you hope they don't renew it?
He publicly said he hoped the series would not be picked up for season 2.
Well, he got his wish for a radical change, but it cost the show its life. After a delay from the 1980 actors' strike, the show came back with entirely new producers and a totally different structure. The network basically gave in.
They did a complete 180. They scrapped the Earth defense plot, getting rid of the whole reason Buck was there in the first place.
And the show shifted into an explicit Star Trek clone. Buck, Wilma, and Twiki joined the Starship Searcher on a generic mission.
And that was the core mistake that killed it.
Yeah.
The whole point of Buck Rogers was a 20th century man in a strange 25th century city. The tension came from him being out of time and out of place.
When you put him on a generic starship looking for lost tribes of humanity.
That unique dynamic just vanishes. He's just another space captain.
And the cast purge was brutal. Dr. Hewer, Princess Ardala, Kane, all gone. Even Dr. Theopolis, the talking computer necklace.
These weren't bit players. They were the anchors of the season 1 world.
And they were replaced with characters designed to copy other successful sci-fi. Admiral Asimov, the human commander.
A stoic, bird-like alien hawk who was their answer to Mr. Spock.
And a new pair of robots, Dr. Goodfellow and his snobbish robot Creighton.
And the tone shifted to match Gerard's demands. They scaled back the humor and focused on weighty concepts. Evolution, ecology, racism, mythology, war.
They even softened Wilma, trying to make her less militaristic and more feminine to fit the serious plots.
It became heavy, preachy, and just generic. The audience that loved the fun, sexy adventure of season 1 did not tune in for philosophical discussions.
We should also quickly note that even Twiki's voice changed for a bit. Mel Blanc was ill for the first 7 episodes and was replaced before coming back for the final 6.
But despite the revamp, the whole thing failed. Commercially, ratings just plummeted.
NBC, tired of the problematic star and the poor viewership, canceled the series after only 13 episodes of that second season.
Gerard, ironically, later admitted the Star Trek-esque approach was a big mistake.
It's a powerful lesson. Sometimes the success is in the hokum, and trying to make it loftier can be a self-inflicted wound.
And the roller coaster didn't stop once Buck was grounded. Gerard's personal life after the show ended in 1981 became much harder than any fight with the Draconians.
He had roles in a few other series like Sidekicks and EARTH Force, but his biggest fights were intensely personal.
He was very open about his struggles with cocaine and alcohol addiction. And after his divorce from actress Connie Sellecca in 1987, a new struggle emerged: compulsive eating.
This wasn't just, gaining some weight. It was a crisis that cost him his career. He was incredibly frank about it, estimating his weight problems cost him $1 million in lost work.
He just wasn't fit for the leading man roles he was known for anymore. By the mid-2000s, it was a life-threatening health crisis.
By October 2005, his weight was over 350 pounds, and he had severe type 2 diabetes. He opted for life-saving mini-gastric bypass surgery.
And here's where his story becomes really inspiring. He didn't do this in secret. He allowed the entire painful year-long recovery to be filmed for a 2007 documentary on Discovery Health.
Action hero makeover.
Allowing that vulnerability to be filmed publicly, it says a lot about his desire to help other people. The documentary tracked his recovery, where he lost 145 pounds in just 10 months.
He said the feedback he got from people who were inspired to save their own lives after seeing it was the most gratifying thing he ever experienced.
Beyond his public health journey, he dedicated a ton of time to charity work later in life. The Make-A-Wish Foundation, the Childhood Leukemia Foundation, the Special Olympics.
And he fully embraced the fandom that loved him, regularly attending sci-fi conventions from the late 90s on.
He even found a way to revisit his most famous collaboration. He and Aaron Gray reunited for a TV film, Nuclear Hurricane, in 2007.
And in a fun twist, they played the parents of the main characters in a 2009 Buck Rogers Begins internet series pilot, kind of handing off the torch.
He kept working, too. He voiced Megatronus in Transformers, Robots in Disguise in 2015. He was a cherished voice right up to the end.
And perhaps the most powerful reflection of his life is the final message he prepared before his passing, which his wife Janet shared.
It's a profound statement, simple and full of appreciation.
Don't waste your time on anything that doesn't thrill you or bring you love. See you out somewhere in the cosmos.
A beautiful way to sign off on a life that, despite its on-screen flash, was really defined by very human struggles, deep perseverance, and a public commitment to recovery that truly helped people.
So we've taken a deep dive into the Captain. We started with the cynical reality that Gil Gerard's most iconic role was born from a corporate decision to recycle props from a multi-million-dollar failure.
And that successful piece of charming, escapist disco-decade science fiction was ultimately sabotaged by an intense internal conflict overtone led by the star himself.
Which resulted in that sudden catastrophic shift toward serious, generic Star Trek-style exploration.
The story of Buck Rogers Season 2 is a powerful cautionary tale. They destroyed the premise when they tried to shift a lighthearted adventure into a heavy, serious clone focused on sociological issues.
Which leaves you with a question to mull over. How often does a show or, even a personal project or a business fail when the creator or the audience pushes it to be something deeper, something more serious, or something better than the wildly successful, enjoyable, and maybe even silly premise it was meant to be in the first place?
We'll leave that thought hanging in the 25th century air. Thank you for joining us for the deep dive.